Have you ever wondered why some people seem to rise faster than everyone around them? They don't always have the highest IQ. They aren't always born into wealthy families. They don't necessarily work harder than everyone else. Yet somehow, opportunities seem to find them. Doors open, businesses grow, wealth compounds. Their confidence becomes contagious. What if the biggest difference isn't talent at all? What if it's the people they choose to think with? Stay until the end of this video, because you're about to discover one of Napoleon Hill's most powerful principles, a principle that has quietly shaped billion-dollar companies, legendary entrepreneurs, and extraordinary lives for over a century. And by the time this chapter ends, you'll know how to begin building this invisible advantage, even if you're starting with no money, no connections, and no reputation. Think back for a moment. There was probably a time in your life when you achieved something that changed your direction forever. Maybe it was getting accepted into a school you dreamed about, landing your first meaningful job, starting a business, recovering from a difficult season that almost broke your confidence. Now ask yourself one honest question. Did you truly accomplish it completely alone? Or was there someone whose words, encouragement, criticism, or belief became part of your journey? For many of us, success arrived because someone believed in us before we believed in ourselves. A teacher who saw potential hidden beneath insecurity. A mentor who shared wisdom without asking for anything in return. A friend who reminded us not to quit during moments of doubt. Sometimes it wasn't even someone supportive. Sometimes it was a competitor who challenged us to improve. Sometimes it was rejection that forced us to become stronger than comfort ever could. Every meaningful relationship leaves a fingerprint on who we become. Modern culture often celebrates the image of the lone genius, the entrepreneur working alone in a garage, the investor making perfect decisions independently, the visionary who changed the world through sheer determination. It's an inspiring story, but it is rarely the complete story. Behind every extraordinary achievement exists a network of conversations, advisors, collaborators, critics, and supporters who quietly influence the outcome. The public sees the spotlight. They rarely see the circle standing just outside the frame. Napoleon Hill spent more than 20 years studying the lives of the world's most successful people. He interviewed industrialists, inventors, business leaders, and innovators whose decisions transformed entire industries. After thousands of conversations and countless observations, he noticed something remarkable. The greatest achievers shared one habit that almost no one talked about. They intentionally surrounded themselves with people whose thinking expanded their own. They didn't simply collect contacts. They built powerful circles of trust, challenge, accountability, and shared vision. Hill gave this principle a memorable name: the mastermind. At first glance, it sounds mysterious, but the idea itself is surprisingly practical. A mastermind is not just a group of people meeting together. It is the deliberate harmony of two or more minds working toward a common purpose with mutual respect and complete commitment. When this harmony exists, something extraordinary happens. Ideas become sharper, problems become smaller, courage becomes stronger. Progress begins to accelerate in ways that seem almost impossible from the outside. Imagine trying to push a heavy car uphill by yourself. Every step demands enormous effort, and eventually exhaustion begins to take over. Now imagine 10 people placing their hands on that same car, all pushing in the same direction. The weight hasn't changed, but your ability to move it has. Success works much the same way. The challenge may remain the same, but shared intelligence, shared experience, and shared encouragement dramatically increase your ability to overcome it. This principle applies far beyond business. It shapes your financial future. It influences your career. It determines your habits, your standards, and even the size of your dreams. Spend enough time around people who constantly invest, learn, build businesses, and solve problems, and eventually your conversations begin to change. Your priorities change. Your confidence changes. Opportunities that once seemed invisible suddenly become obvious because your thinking has expanded to recognize them. On the other hand, the opposite is equally true. If every conversation around you revolves around excuses, complaints, fear, or settling for less, it becomes incredibly difficult to imagine a different future. Human beings naturally absorb the expectations of the people closest to them. Without realizing it, we begin to believe that their limits are our limits. We stop aiming higher, not because we're incapable, but because we've forgotten what higher even looks like. Financial success often begins long before money appears in a bank account. It begins inside conversations. One conversation can introduce a business opportunity. Another can change your investment strategy. Another can inspire you to acquire a valuable skill. Another can save you years of costly mistakes. The highest return on investment isn't always found in the stock market. Sometimes it's found in spending 1 hour with someone who has already walked the path you hope to travel. This is why wealthy people rarely think of networking as collecting business cards or adding followers on social media. To them, relationships are intellectual partnerships. Every meaningful connection becomes an opportunity to exchange ideas, challenge assumptions, discover blind spots, and accelerate growth. They understand that knowledge multiplies when it is shared, refined, and tested by different perspectives. The strongest networks are not built on transactions. They are built on trust, generosity, and long-term value. Here's the encouraging news. You don't need millions of dollars to begin building this kind of network. You don't need a famous name. You don't need an impressive resume. What you need is curiosity, humility, consistency, and the willingness to contribute before expecting anything in return. Every influential relationship in history began as a simple conversation between two people who decided to grow together. As this chapter unfolds, you'll discover why some of history's greatest fortunes were built, not by isolated brilliance, but by carefully chosen alliances. More importantly, you'll learn how anyone, including you, can begin creating a mastermind that transforms not only your career and finances, but the person you become. Because the greatest investment you will ever make may not be in stocks, real estate, or business. It may be in the people who expand the way you think. What exactly did Napoleon Hill mean when he spoke about the mastermind principle? It wasn't a motivational slogan or a catchy phrase designed to inspire readers for a moment. Hill believed it was one of the hidden laws behind every lasting achievement. After studying the lives of hundreds of the world's most influential business leaders, inventors, and entrepreneurs, he noticed an extraordinary pattern. None of them reached greatness by relying solely on their own intelligence. Every one of them intentionally surrounded themselves with people who could strengthen their thinking, challenge their assumptions, and contribute skills they themselves did not possess. Hill described a mastermind as the harmonious coordination of two or more minds working together toward a definite purpose. Notice the emphasis on harmony. Simply placing intelligent people in the same room doesn't automatically create extraordinary results. Many teams fail because their members compete for attention instead of collaborating toward a shared vision. Harmony transforms individual intelligence into collective wisdom. Without trust, respect, and mutual commitment, knowledge remains fragmented. But when those qualities exist, ideas begin to connect in remarkable ways. Think about an orchestra. A single violin can produce beautiful music. A piano alone can move emotions. A trumpet has its own powerful voice. But when every instrument follows the same composition under one direction, the result is something far greater than the sum of its individual sounds. Business works the same way. Investing works the same way. Leadership works the same way. Success becomes exponential when diverse strengths move toward the same destination. This explains why many highly intelligent people never achieve the success they deserve. Intelligence without collaboration often leads to isolation. A brilliant entrepreneur may have an innovative product but lack marketing expertise. A gifted engineer may solve complex technical problems but struggle to build relationships. A talented investor may understand markets yet fail because emotions cloud judgment during uncertainty. No matter how capable you are, every individual has blind spots. The mastermind exists to reveal what you cannot see alone. Consider one of the simplest examples. Imagine you're planning to launch a business. Left entirely on your own, every decision feels uncertain. Should you raise prices? Should you target a different customer? Should you invest in advertising or improve your product first? Your own mind becomes trapped inside its limited perspective. But introduce 3 experienced thinkers into the conversation, someone with financial expertise, another with marketing knowledge, and another who understands customer behavior. And suddenly possibilities begin to appear that never existed before. Problems shrink because perspectives expand. Andrew Carnegie understood this better than almost anyone of his era. Although he became one of the wealthiest industrialists in history, he never believed that personal brilliance alone explained his success. Carnegie intentionally surrounded himself with experts who were often more knowledgeable than he was in their specific fields. Engineers improved production. Financial advisors optimized investments. Managers increased operational efficiency. Rather than feeling threatened by capable people, Carnegie welcomed them. He understood a truth that insecure leaders often miss. Surrounding yourself with smarter people doesn't diminish your value, it multiplies it. This lesson extends far beyond billion-dollar corporations. Imagine 2 people pursuing financial freedom. The first spends years learning entirely through trial and error, making expensive mistakes that consume both time and money. The second regularly meets with individuals who have already built successful businesses, invested wisely, or overcome similar obstacles. Which person is likely to reach their goals faster? Experience borrowed from others often saves years of painful experimentation. Wisdom shared becomes time saved. In today's world, this principle is even more powerful than it was during Hill's lifetime. Technology has eliminated many of the barriers that once separated ambitious people. You no longer need to live in the same city as your mentors. You don't need to work for the same company to exchange ideas. Through online communities, professional networks, podcasts, books, masterminds, and virtual meetings, you can learn directly from people whose experiences once seemed completely inaccessible. Geography is no longer the greatest limitation. Mindset is. Yet there is one mistake that prevents many people from building meaningful relationships. They approach every conversation with one question: what can I gain? Ironically, this mindset usually drives valuable people away. High achievers are constantly approached by individuals looking for shortcuts, favors, or opportunities. What captures their attention isn't need, it's contribution. They remember people who solve problems, share useful ideas, introduce valuable connections, or simply bring positive energy into every interaction. This is one of the greatest financial lessons hidden inside the mastermind principle. Wealth flows toward value. Whether you're selling a product, offering a service, leading a company, or building relationships, your long-term success depends on one question: how much value do you consistently create for others? The people who become indispensable are rarely those who demand the most. They are the ones who contribute the most. Their reputation becomes their greatest currency. Another remarkable benefit of a mastermind is accountability. Human beings naturally protect their own comfort. We delay difficult work. We rationalize procrastination. We convince ourselves that tomorrow is a better day to begin. But when you share your goals with trusted partners who genuinely expect progress, something changes psychologically. Your commitment becomes public. Excuses become harder to justify. Consistency becomes easier because someone else believes in your potential enough to ask how you're doing. Research in psychology repeatedly shows that people are significantly more likely to complete meaningful goals when they publicly commit to them and regularly report their progress. It's not magic. It's human nature. We care deeply about remaining consistent with our commitments. A mastermind quietly uses this natural tendency to strengthen discipline. Instead of relying solely on willpower, it creates an environment where persistence becomes the normal expectation. Perhaps the greatest gift a mastermind offers isn't knowledge or opportunity. It's belief. There will be seasons when you begin to doubt yourself. Business slows down. Investments disappoint. Job applications go unanswered. Your progress feels invisible. During those moments, your own confidence may not be enough. Sometimes you need someone else to remind you of the vision you've temporarily forgotten. Someone who sees your future more clearly than your present circumstances. That kind of encouragement has rescued countless entrepreneurs from giving up one step before success. The remarkable truth is that every successful person you admire has relied on this principle in one form or another. Some called it mentorship. Others called it partnership. Some built advisory boards. Others formed close circles of trusted friends. The name may change, but the principle remains timeless. Extraordinary results emerge when extraordinary minds learn to grow together. And the beautiful part is this: you don't need to be famous to begin. You only need the willingness to become the kind of person others are grateful to grow with. In the next chapter, we'll explore exactly how ordinary people can start building a powerful mastermind from scratch, even with no status, no wealth, and no influential connections. There is a common belief that successful people have access to opportunities simply because they already know the right people. But the truth is more interesting than that. They don't succeed because they have powerful networks. They have powerful networks because they spent years becoming the kind of people others wanted to work with. Long before wealth appeared in their bank accounts, they were building trust, creating value, and developing a reputation that attracted opportunity naturally. Relationships were never the reward for success. They were one of its causes. Many people think networking means collecting business cards, adding strangers on LinkedIn, or attending events where everyone is trying to impress everyone else. But genuine influence is built very differently. The most successful entrepreneurs don't ask, "Who can help me?" They ask, "Whose life or business can I improve?" That simple shift changes every conversation. Instead of appearing desperate for opportunity, they become memorable because they consistently create value wherever they go. Imagine meeting two people at the same event. The first spends the entire evening talking about themselves, their goals, their ambitions, their challenges. The second spends most of the evening asking thoughtful questions, listening carefully, offering useful insights, and making introductions that benefit others. Which person would you remember? Which one would you want to meet again? Influence grows from genuine curiosity, not constant self-promotion. This is why emotional intelligence has become one of the most valuable forms of capital in today's economy. Technical skills may open a door, but relationships determine how many doors remain open throughout your career. People naturally trust those who make them feel understood, respected, and appreciated. Every meaningful relationship begins with the simple ability to listen before speaking. Consider Warren Buffett. Despite being one of the wealthiest investors in history, he has repeatedly emphasized the importance of surrounding yourself with people who are wiser, more ethical, and more disciplined than you are. He once explained that your life tends to move in the direction of the people you associate with. This isn't merely inspirational advice, it's practical psychology. Human beings unconsciously adopt the habits, expectations, and standards of those they spend the most time around. Imagine spending 5 years surrounded by entrepreneurs who constantly discuss business models, investments, leadership, productivity, and long-term thinking. Then imagine spending those same 5 years surrounded by people who complain every day, avoid responsibility, and believe success belongs only to the lucky. Both groups influence you, even if you don't realize it. Every conversation is shaping your beliefs about what is possible. The same principle applies to personal finance. If everyone around you believes debt is normal, saving is impossible, and investing is too risky, those ideas slowly become part of your own thinking. But place yourself among people who discuss compound interest, business ownership, disciplined investing, and continuous learning, and your financial decisions begin to evolve naturally. Wealth often starts as a change in perspective before it becomes a change in income. One of the greatest advantages wealthy individuals possess is not secret information. It's access to different questions. While many people ask, "How can I make more money this month?" Successful investors often ask, "How can I build an asset that creates income for years?" While others ask, "What job pays the most?" Entrepreneurs ask, "What problem can I solve for millions of people?" The quality of your life is often determined by the quality of the questions surrounding you. This is exactly what happens inside a healthy mastermind group. Members don't simply celebrate each other's progress. They challenge limiting beliefs. They expose blind spots. They encourage bigger thinking while keeping one another accountable for taking consistent action. Sometimes the most valuable contribution isn't agreement. It's respectful disagreement. One honest question can prevent months of costly mistakes. Think about some of the world's most innovative companies. Behind every breakthrough product, there are teams of engineers, designers, strategists, marketers, researchers, and leaders refining thousands of small ideas until something extraordinary emerges. Innovation rarely arrives fully formed in one brilliant moment. More often, it is created through continuous collaboration, debate, testing, and improvement. Great ideas evolve because multiple minds refuse to let them remain average. Yet one misconception still prevents many people from building meaningful relationships. They believe they have nothing valuable to offer because they are still beginners. But everyone has something another person needs. You may have fresh perspectives. You may have energy, creativity, technical skills, language abilities, or experiences that someone else lacks. Value isn't measured only by money or status. It is measured by usefulness. In fact, many lifelong partnerships begin when two people are equally unknown. They study together, build businesses together, learn from failures together. Years later, the world sees two successful individuals. What it doesn't see are the countless evenings spent encouraging each other when success still seemed impossible. Strong partnerships are rarely formed after success. They are forged during struggle. So, if you're waiting until you're more successful before reaching out to others, consider reversing the process. Build relationships while you're still learning. Attend communities where people challenge your thinking. Join book clubs, entrepreneur groups, investment discussions, online learning communities, or professional associations. Not because someone there will hand you success, but because every meaningful conversation expands your understanding of what success can become. Here's a powerful mindset shift. Instead of asking, "How can I meet successful people?" ask yourself, "How can I become someone successful people enjoy spending time with?" Become dependable. Keep your promises. Stay curious. Continue learning. Celebrate other people's victories without jealousy. Share useful knowledge freely. Over time, your reputation becomes your introduction long before you enter the room. Character attracts opportunity more consistently than charisma ever will. This is the real secret behind the mastermind principle. It isn't about gaining access to influential people. It's about becoming a source of value within every relationship you build. When trust, generosity, accountability, and shared ambition come together, something remarkable happens. You stop chasing opportunities, and opportunities begin finding you. In the next chapter, we'll move from theory to action. You'll discover how to build your own mastermind from scratch, even if today you have no powerful connections, no business partners, and no impressive network. Because every extraordinary circle begins with one courageous conversation. By now, you might be thinking, this all sounds inspiring, but what if I don't know successful people? What if I don't have wealthy friends, influential mentors, or business partners? If that's where you are today, here's the good news. Neither did most of the people who eventually became extraordinary. Every powerful network in history began when someone had absolutely nothing except a willingness to learn, contribute, and grow. Nobody is born with an elite circle. It is built one relationship at a time. One of the biggest mistakes people make is believing they must become successful before they deserve successful relationships. They think they need a bigger income, a better job title, a larger social media following, or years of experience before anyone important will take them seriously. But that's backwards. Relationships often create success, not the other way around. Many of today's business leaders, investors, and entrepreneurs met their closest partners long before any of them achieved financial freedom. They simply chose to grow together. So where do you begin? Start smaller than your ego expects. You don't need 10 brilliant advisors or a room full of millionaires. You only need one person who shares your commitment to becoming better than you were yesterday. One person who refuses to make excuses. One person who values honesty over comfort. One person who is willing to celebrate your progress while challenging your complacency. A mastermind can begin with just two determined individuals who refuse to let each other settle for less. Imagine meeting with that person for just 30 minutes every week. Each meeting follows a simple structure. First, you both share one meaningful victory from the previous week. Second, you openly discuss the biggest obstacle you're currently facing. Third, you commit to one clear action you'll complete before the next meeting. Finally, you ask each other one difficult question, the kind of question that forces honest reflection rather than comfortable excuses. Over time, those conversations become a habit, and that habit quietly changes your life. The purpose of these meetings isn't to impress each other. It's to sharpen each other. Real growth happens when someone respectfully challenges your assumptions. Maybe your business idea isn't reaching the right audience. Maybe you're spending money emotionally instead of strategically. Maybe you've convinced yourself you're too old, too young, or too inexperienced to pursue your dream. Left alone, those beliefs can survive for years. Spoken out loud to someone who genuinely cares, they begin to lose their power. One reason mastermind groups work so well is because they replace isolation with accountability. When no one knows your goals, it's easy to postpone them. Missing one workout becomes missing a month. Delaying one business idea becomes delaying another year. Skipping one investment plan becomes waiting another decade. But once another person expects progress, every small action suddenly carries greater meaning. Accountability transforms intentions into habits, and habits eventually become identity. This principle extends far beyond business. If your goal is financial freedom, talk regularly with people who are learning about investing, budgeting, entrepreneurship, or building assets. If your goal is better health, spend time with people who prioritize discipline and consistency. If your goal is becoming a stronger leader, surround yourself with people who inspire growth rather than comfort. Your environment quietly shapes your standards, and your standards shape your future. Today, building a mastermind has never been more accessible. You can join online communities dedicated to entrepreneurship, investing, personal development, technology, writing, fitness, or leadership. You can participate in virtual book clubs, discussion groups, mastermind communities, and educational platforms with people from every corner of the world. Technology has removed geographical barriers, but it cannot replace intentional participation. The opportunity exists for everyone. The decision to engage still belongs to you. However, here's the principle that separates meaningful relationships from shallow networking. Never approach people asking only what they can do for you. Instead, ask yourself, how can I make this person's journey a little easier? Maybe you can share an article that solves a problem they're facing. Maybe you can introduce two people who could benefit from knowing each other. Maybe you simply become the person who always follows through on promises. Small acts of reliability often build stronger trust than grand gestures. This is exactly how lasting reputations are built. Not through self-promotion, but through consistent usefulness. People naturally remember those who solve problems without seeking immediate rewards. Over time, opportunities begin to appear almost unexpectedly. A job recommendation, a business partnership, an investment opportunity, a mentor willing to share years of experience. From the outside, it may look like luck, but more often than not, it's simply trust accumulated over time. There's another benefit that many people overlook. A mastermind doesn't only help you think more clearly, it also helps you recover faster from failure. Every ambitious person experiences rejection. Businesses fail. Investments lose value. Career plans change. Dreams take longer than expected. During those moments, isolation becomes dangerous because failure begins to sound like identity. But when you're surrounded by people who remind you that setbacks are temporary, resilience becomes much easier to maintain. Borrowing hope from someone else can sometimes carry you through the hardest season of your life. Think about the greatest athletes in the world. Even after becoming champions, they continue working with coaches. World-class musicians still practice with instructors. Billion-dollar CEOs seek advice from boards and mentors. Why? Because excellence never graduates from feedback. The higher you climb, the more valuable honest perspectives become. If the world's best performers continue learning from others, why should any of us believe we can reach our highest potential completely alone? Here's a challenge for you. Before this week ends, identify one person who genuinely wants to improve their life. It could be a friend, a colleague, a classmate, a business owner, or even someone you've met through an online learning community. Invite them to a simple 30-minute weekly conversation focused entirely on growth. Share your goals, discuss your obstacles, hold each other accountable, keep the commitment for 90 days. Don't judge the results after one meeting. Let consistency reveal the transformation. Small actions repeated over time always outperform occasional bursts of motivation. And remember this above all else. A mastermind is not about finding people who agree with everything you say. It's about finding people who care enough to challenge you, encourage you, and grow alongside you. Those relationships become one of the greatest investments you'll ever make, because while money can disappear, wisdom shared between trusted minds continues compounding for a lifetime. Yet even with the strongest support system imaginable, one obstacle still has the power to stop almost every dream before it begins. It isn't a lack of intelligence. It isn't a lack of opportunity. It's fear. And in our final chapter, we'll uncover the 6 invisible fears Napoleon Hill believed hold more people back than any external obstacle ever could, and how you can finally break free from them. As we've discovered throughout this journey, success is rarely the result of talent alone. It grows from desire, unwavering faith, persistent action, specialized knowledge, imagination, organized planning, decisive action, persistence, and finally, the extraordinary power of surrounding yourself with the right minds. These principles have transformed countless lives. Yet Napoleon Hill believed there was one final obstacle capable of quietly destroying every one of them, an invisible enemy that no amount of money, education, or opportunity can eliminate unless you confront it directly. That enemy is fear. Fear is unlike any other obstacle because it rarely announces itself openly. Instead, it disguises itself as logic. It whispers, "Wait until you're more prepared." It tells you, "Now isn't the right time." It convinces you that you're simply being realistic when, in truth, you're avoiding discomfort. Many dreams never die because people lacked ability. They die because fear convinced them to postpone action until someday, a day that never arrives. Think about every major opportunity you've ever missed. Perhaps you wanted to start a business, but worried about failing. Maybe you wanted to invest, but feared losing money. Perhaps you dreamed of changing careers, writing a book, launching a YouTube channel, or speaking in public. In nearly every case, the greatest obstacle wasn't external circumstances. It was the conversation happening inside your own mind. The prison was invisible, but its walls were incredibly real. Napoleon Hill identified what he called the 6 ghosts of fear. The fear of poverty, the fear of criticism, the fear of ill health, the fear of losing love, the fear of old age, and the fear of death. He believed these 6 fears silently influence millions of decisions every single day. They stop businesses before they begin. They prevent investments before wealth can grow. They silence ideas before the world ever has a chance to benefit from them. Most people never realize these invisible forces are directing their choices. Of these 6, Hill argued that the fear of poverty is perhaps the most destructive. It convinces people to choose security over possibility. They remain in jobs they no longer enjoy because uncertainty feels more frightening than regret. They postpone investing because temporary losses seem unbearable. They never build businesses because failure appears more painful than never trying at all. Ironically, the attempt to avoid financial risk often creates the greatest financial risk of all, remaining exactly where you are. Then comes the fear of criticism. How many extraordinary ideas have disappeared because someone worried about being judged? People delay publishing their first book because strangers might not like it. They avoid launching a business because friends may question their decision. They never share their creativity because perfection feels safer than vulnerability. Yet every successful person you've admired has experienced criticism. The difference is not that they escaped judgment. They simply refused to let judgment determine their future. This is where the mastermind principle becomes incredibly powerful once again. The right people don't eliminate fear. They help you move through it. They remind you of your purpose when doubt becomes overwhelming. They challenge your excuses before they become permanent beliefs. They celebrate your courage even before your success arrives. Borrowing confidence from trusted companions often becomes the bridge between hesitation and action. That's why your environment matters so deeply. The voices you hear every week eventually become the voice you hear inside your own mind. Imagine 2 people standing at the edge of the same opportunity. One is surrounded by people who constantly warn, "Be careful. Don't take risks. You'll probably fail." The other hears, "Prepare well. Learn everything you can. Then take the first step. Even if you fail, you'll gain experience that no one can ever take away." Both individuals face identical circumstances. Yet one sees danger while the other sees possibility. The difference isn't the opportunity. It's the environment shaping their interpretation of it. Throughout history, nearly every breakthrough has required someone to act before certainty existed. Investors committed capital before guarantees appeared. Entrepreneurs built companies before customers arrived. Inventors spent years pursuing ideas the world initially dismissed. Explorers crossed oceans without complete maps. None of them eliminated fear first. They simply decided that their vision mattered more than their uncertainty. Courage has never meant the absence of fear. It has always meant moving forward despite it. Perhaps that's the lesson Napoleon Hill hoped every reader would carry long after finishing his book. Success isn't reserved for the smartest people. It isn't reserved for the richest families or the luckiest entrepreneurs. Success belongs to those who develop the right mindset, surround themselves with the right influences, continue learning, persist through setbacks, and refuse to surrender to fear when opportunities appear. Every principle we've explored points back to one simple truth. Your future is shaped far more by your decisions than by your circumstances. So today, ask yourself one question. Who are the people influencing the way you think? Do they inspire courage or reinforce comfort? Do they encourage growth or justify excuses? Do they help you become the person you're capable of becoming, or quietly keep you attached to the version of yourself you've already outgrown? The answer to that question may reveal more about your future than your current income, education, or job title ever could. And now, I'd like to leave you with a challenge. This week, reach out to one person who genuinely wants to grow. Schedule one conversation, not about gossip, not about complaints, but about dreams, goals, business ideas, financial freedom, health, and personal growth. Ask each other difficult questions, hold each other accountable, continue for the next 90 days. Don't expect overnight miracles. Expect gradual transformation, because the greatest changes in life rarely happen in a single dramatic moment. They happen quietly, through small actions repeated consistently with the right people beside you. Remember this: every fortune begins as an idea. Every company begins with a decision. Every meaningful relationship begins with a conversation. Every transformation begins with a single courageous step. You may not control the economy. You may not control your past. You may not control how others see you. But you can always control the thoughts you choose to believe, the habits you choose to build, and the people you choose to walk beside. And that may be the greatest freedom any human being can ever possess. If this message challenged the way you think, don't let it end here. Return to these principles often. Discuss them with someone you trust. Apply even one lesson consistently over the coming months, and watch how your decisions begin to change. Because knowledge alone never transforms a life. Applied wisdom does. Thank you for spending these moments investing in yourself. If this video helped you see your future differently, consider sharing it with someone whose life could be changed by hearing these ideas today. You never know, one conversation may become the beginning of someone else's extraordinary journey. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and never stop believing that your greatest potential is still ahead of you.